everybody, to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show featuring Dr. Carolyn Dean. Join Dr. Dean for the next 2 hours along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty. Join Dr. Dean as she shares with us her vast range of experience, knowledge, talent, and wisdom. Phone lines are now open, and we'll be taking your calls from around the world and here in the USA.
Welcome everyone to Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with all kinds of wonderful universal love, and of course, uniting the rest of the world with our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, MD, ND, the author of the Magnesium Miracle and international bestseller, really trailblazing and leading the way since it was written back and released in 2004. Educating the whole world about the benefits of magnesium and magnesium supplementation, and then expanding into topics ranging everything from men and women's health all the way to gut, to our entire body's yeast overgrowth, magnesium and mineral deficiencies, and of course now immune support. And we're so excited that you're with us. I'm Ginny Sanders. I'll be your co-host this evening for the next 2 hours. If you're listening through a podcast or a YouTube, we welcome you as well. If you're listening to the night, the show's being recorded. This is November 8, 2021. We're happy you're here with us live and in person, even giving a love shout out to our precious Betsy down in Georgia, who's been a friend of this show and Dr. Dean for many years. Or going all the way to maybe you're hearing it 10 years from now. This is the one thing that I can guarantee you beyond a shadow of a doubt. Dr. Carolyn Dean is here to do something rather extraordinary, ladies and gentlemen, and that is to do no harm. That's right. She's to do no harm. She took her oath seriously when she took that vow in naturopathic and medical doctorhood to do no harm and to really take the care of the patient into her heart and into her hands. And that is what she has done. And there is no less harming information that could come to you tonight about how to unite yourself with the biological relevance you have with all of nature, of which the ecosystem in which you are designed to function, live, and have your well-being, and then to bring yourself into integration with that by using nutrition as a basis for your healthy lifestyle and your well-being. Of course, it's a-okay every once in a while if you get into a little bit of a pickle to hit the allopathic button and a little bit of drug, a little bit of device here, there, and everywhere. Like, for example, critical situations when you get caught up in that car accident. But for the most part, day in and day out, we want to be integrated with nature, and we want to have our total benefit coming through those nutrients and through those processes to our bodies. Of course, Dr. Dean knows, having been teaching that method and that message for over 50 years, that there's a little bit of funkiness right now in our environment. And so we have to navigate through that as well. But being the leader she is, she solved that problem as well. So we're here to talk to you about health, vitality, well-being, how to have it, how to love it, how to embrace it, how to integrate it into your life, and how to trust it and rely on it, and how to know that what is being taught to you and told to you is being taught and told to you from the perspective of doing no harm, which is Dr. Dean's expertise. And so we're so happy to have her with us this evening. Again, I will remind you, this is not a medical advice show. We can't give medical advice on the show, but we will definitely talk to you about what we would do, and maybe our audience too, and our callers, live callers, and those who are writing in their testimonials to share their stories of encouragement and how Dr. Dean's compassion has reached into their world and given them the confidence they need to make the lifestyle choices that they've made in order to experience a greater realm of health. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. She's an expert on it, and we welcome her to the show, our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Hey, Jenny, thank you once again for the wonderful introduction. I want to ask you, Jenny, do you know these words? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Where do these words come from, Ginny?
They come from our beautiful founding fathers and the articles of the documents of our beautiful country.
Mm-hmm. The First Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah.
They felt it was important to add that. And what did Ginny send me today? She sent me information about a story that's come up. Our friend Dr. Mercola is suing Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren. In early September 2021, Elizabeth Warren sent a letter to Andy Jassy, Chief Executive Officer of Amazon.com, demanding an immediate review of Amazon's algorithms to weed out books peddling misinformation. I won't say about what, I'll just say the virus that shall not be named. So, misinformation about the virus that shall not be named, stressing that Amazon's sale of such books was potentially unlawful. Warren specifically singled out Mercola's book. He's writing this, so he said, she singled out my book, The Truth About the Virus That Shall Be Unnamed, co-written with Ronnie Cummins, founder and director of the Organic Consumers Association. And she said this was a prime example of highly ranked and favorably tagged books based on falsehoods about the virus that shall be unnamed, about vaccines and cures that she wanted banned. Next point, as a government official, it is illegal for Warren to violate the US Constitution, and pressuring private businesses to do it for her is not a legal workaround. Mercola says, Cummins and I, along with our publisher, Chelsea Green Publishing, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., for Pete's sakes, who wrote our foreword, are now suing Warren both in her official and personal capacities for violating our First Amendment rights and scaring booksellers into pulling and or suppressing sales of our book. Ironically, Warren's claims of misinformation are themselves misinformation that puts lives at risk. So if people are wondering why they're not seeing a lot of information about the virus that shall not be named, let's say negative information, not seeing information about alternatives, not seeing information about potential side effects. I mean, the first thing medicine and pharmaceutical companies are supposed to do when they put out a new drug of any form, injectable or not, they're supposed to do post-marketing surveillance. They're supposed to gather all the information they possibly can to know whether or not it's, safe for everybody. They're not doing that either. Another abuse of the Constitution. So, had to get that off my chest. And what did you say, Ginny, about 18,000 pages of information were wiped?
Yes, they made him take down 18,000 pages of content that he had developed over the course of his career to share the good news of natural medicine and treatments with the public all around the world. And now he's only allowed to have any post or blog that he makes up for 48 hours at a time, and then he has to take it down.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, what is, I can't even believe those words. And this is what, America? I mean, it's unfathomable. And so I am glad in part, it's very unfortunate what's occurring. Apparently he's he's prepared for it in a certain sense, but I'm glad that he is going to be able to rally and hopefully use his large and influential network to make people aware of the flagrant violations that are occurring and to stir them even more determinedly to not allow their medical freedoms and their medical rights to continue to be eroded.
Mm-hmm. And doctors have been put in that bucket somehow. I mean, I'd like to know the ins and outs of the origin of the HMOs, the medical organizations that decided that doctors didn't want to be solo practitioners anymore, and scooched them together in little clinics and then became the boss. And doctors have lost their freedom of speech as well, because when a doctor tries to say something that somebody doesn't like, their HMO, their hospital, their clinic can actually fire them. So they've lost their rights as well. And Ginny told me about this morning, about this lawsuit. And, I didn't think I'd say anything, but then Ginny had me go over the new labels that we have to put on our formulas. The FDA is always after us, or most supplement companies probably, but because we do so well and help so many people, they seem to have targeted us. So we have to make our labels so generic, so non-instructional that you don't even have a clue what they do, what these incredible formulas do. We have to just dance around with little words that generalize and make it sound like jello. It is so incredible what we are not able to say anymore. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
So that this is where we do rely on our faithful customers to spread the word and say, if the conversation comes up about dietary supplements, and they don't work, or that, you have to start speaking up, because people are dying for lack of nutrients. That's it. Bottom line. People are dying for lack of nutrients.
Absolutely. And I will say, I don't know if you guys, our audience, are subscribed to the grassrootshealth.net blogs and their email service. I personally enjoy their information very much because it is neutral, but it's very oriented again toward vitamin D. And I thought they just came out with an absolutely stunning blog over the weekend, Carolyn, and I don't know, we didn't talk about it. I don't know if you saw it, but it was called Breast Cancer Prevention Isn't Preventing Anything. Nothing.
Oh.
And it was all about the millions and bazillions of dollars and the pink hats and all the rest of this that have been going on and on and on incessantly for all the years that they have, and how breast cancer prevention is nothing has happened. It is a zero-sum game. As a matter of fact, it's actually gone up, occurrences of breast cancer in certain populations. Let's guess who they are. African American and Hispanic. Why is that? Because their skin type is darker. What do they need? Vitamin D. What aren't they getting? Vitamin D. And so their whole thing was, when are we going to actually tell people the truth? People get lulled into a false sense of security because they get a mammogram and they get a clean scan or whatever, and they don't know that the year or two from there, they could have a declining vitamin D status, and that could expose them in their immune system. People don't have any fundamental understanding. So I told Brian, I said, I want to get a post out there that says, you know your date of birth, you know your social security number, you know your cell phone number. You better know your vitamin D score, because that is the most important number that you can know besides the basic numbers of your life. It is the most basic number, along with your magnesium saturation score. But vitamin D is even more clearly defined. The RBC in the serum testing is a little wonky. But this is important for people to know. And because we're not telling people the truth, we are creating all these distractions, and they're not able to really serve themselves with the information. So to your point, we don't get to say what the truth really is.
Yeah, never. And then people who give half-truths and scare tactics, they're touted. Even in alternative medicine, there's a doctor Dr. Christensen, I think he's big on thyroid. Of course, he doesn't talk about the 12 minerals necessary for the thyroid, but he interviewed a parathyroid surgeon who actually, she used to work at the Norman Parathyroid Clinic in Florida, where we send people when they have high levels of calcium in their blood, and then they find out they have a benign parathyroid tumor and they have to get it taken out. Well, they go after vitamin D, saying that vitamin D is toxic because it can cause high calcium levels, and not a word about magnesium is necessary to balance that whole picture. So just like our non-friend Morley Robbins, who puts down higher doses of vitamin D, they put down vitamin D as well, and they're calling it a hormone, which I thought it was, but there's just a small part of vitamin D that has hormone properties. So it's not a hormone, so you don't have to worry about taking too much because it's a hormone. So people just don't do enough of the research. They'll take a bit of information and then run with it. To create some article or to shock people, but there's never a balance. And seriously, folks, we are the balance here. I've been at this for 50 years, studying natural medicine and then practicing from day one, practicing natural medicine, because I knew it was the safest thing to do. I mean, you hear these doctors, oh yeah, I practiced for 10 years and I wasn't helping anyone, so I decided to go, become a natural medicine doctor. Yeah, after they, do whatever for 10 years in the wrong way. So yeah, you really have to dig deep, do your own research. But I think you're safe to start with us. Ask us all the questions you want. We can't give you medical information. I do try to couch my advice in the words of, this is what I would do or what I have done. I remember, Ginny, we had an FDA consultant, when the FDA started coming after us years ago. We hired someone, found out she used to work for the FDA, and now she's hired herself out. She threw us under the bus. She didn't give us the right information. The FDA kept attacking us. And I remember one conversation with her before we threw her under her own bus and fired her. She gloated about going on customer service phone calls with dietary supplement companies and setting them up to give medical information so that then they could bring them down. I mean, this is how corrupt it is. Well, I mean, we know how corrupt, but we've experienced the corruptibility. We're experiencing the corruptibility of companies that set themselves up to measure dietary supplements and then tell the public whether they're meeting the standards, which is just label requirements for the most part, which are kind of faked by the FDA anyway. They're The labels, as I'm telling you, are just so Mickey Mouse, but you can pay these companies to not report your results. So that's where dietary supplements are at. Am I right, Jenny?
You are 150,000% right. Yes, you are. And it's too bad.
It's that.
Yeah.
And preventive medicine, I had this little rant prepared before the prior rant. Allopathic medicine pretends they have prevention, but all they do is a lot of testing to try to sort of poke at people and find out if they have the beginnings of a disease so they can give drugs earlier. I mean, that's their idea of prevention. They will never use nutrients as a form of prevention. And another thing that's showing up with the virus that shall go unnamed is they're talking about using antidepressants to cut the post-viral effects of this condition. And that's exactly what I went through 30 years ago up in Toronto when I started seeing my first cases of chronic fatigue syndrome. They just called these people, crazy and depressed and anxious, and gave them drugs, which just made them worse. So they're doing the same for this post-viral condition. And every one of you, if you know anybody who's had the virus and still suffering, they have to be on our formulas. There's no other way around it to support the structure and function of their immune system. And that brings up our blog of today. Jenny, shall I dive into today's blog?
Yes, please, because it's a very good one. Yep.
It is. And it's about a very important nutrient for immunity. And it's about our Pico Silver. And it's kind of about silver in general, but colloidal silver had so much airplay for so many years that when you hear about silver, you think of colloidal silver. Well, that's a compound of silver. It can build up in the tissues. I don't think there's any quote fatalities with the buildup, but the anti-nutrient people will talk about the handful of individuals who've made their own silver compounds and taken them, and their skin has turned blue grayish. And, that's really shocking. I saw one of these people at one of the trade shows. So they tout this as a big side effect and don't take it. Now, fortunately, our Pico Silver is a picometer size of stabilized ion of silver. So it's not a compound. It won't get clogged up in the tissues. It just goes in the cells, does its work. And when the body doesn't need any more, it's eliminated. So the blog says, people look at silver products as an antibiotic to take when you have an infection, but our customers have helped prove that it's a missing nutrient that takes care of many, many things in the body. And this is one of the problems we do have in dietary supplement prescription or use, is people look at dietary supplements as if they're drugs. Oh, I've got a problem. What do I take? Oh, I'll take this until the problem goes away. And then they stop. What we know about our formulas is they are the vitamins and minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids that are necessary to be the building blocks of the body, to be the building blocks of the cells. So it's something you need on a daily basis to keep you healthy, not just to keep away symptoms. Health is not the absence of disease. Health is just, getting to the top of the mountain and just yelling out how awesome you feel. continuing the blog, in May 2018, we introduced Pico Silver, our 20 parts per million concentration of stabilized silver ions in solution. We introduced it to our customers around the world, and the results have actually exceeded our expectations. In fact, Pico Silver has become one of our customers' most favorite immune boosting formulas. When you introduce stabilized ions of minerals into your body, incredible things begin to happen. And as the benefits of silver are well documented in medical literature, the benefits of a stabilized ionic form of silver make those same results even more powerful and immediate. It can be confidently declared and scientifically proven that the silver ion is far safer than antibiotics or any other antimicrobial ever created. It's still the go-to formula for healing even severe skin burns and preventing infection. I'll go to a formula of a silver compound. This would be given externally. In this regard, allopathic medicine knows that the characteristics of the silver ion far exceed the capabilities of patented antibiotics. Also, antibiotics cannot keep up with bacterial organisms' ability to mutate, nor do antibiotics work against viruses. In addition, antibiotics have many side effects, such as yeast infections. This is because antibiotics travel deep into the intestinal tract, where they kill the good bacteria along with the bad. It is also known and documented that taking antibiotics over a long period of time weakens the body's immune system. So yes, silver in the form of Pico ionic silver is a nutrient. It's a necessary nutrient in the body because it systematically concentrates in the body to a much higher level than occurs in nature. So it doesn't just sort of run through the body. The body will hold on to it and utilize it. Since most minerals have been proven to be depleted from our soil and water, the same can be said for silver. It has also been shown by various bodies of research on yeast overgrowth that infectious organisms have gained the upper hand and overwhelm our ability to keep them under control. Silver ions, however, weaponize white blood cells to do their work. Silver assists the white blood cells and the immune system to attack infectious organisms. And then we have a long list of characteristics of silver. Now, most of these words are in my book called Pico Silver. It's one of the 23 free downloadable ebooks at drcarolyndeanlive.com. So in the book, you'll learn that silver has the highest electrical conductivity of any metal. I mean, it won't be long before they start recognizing it as supporting the heart and preventing arrhythmias. Their silver ions are highly effective, and the body's response is nearly instantaneous. And we've heard that from people. I mean, you squirt some Pico Silver in your nostrils, and it immediately starts working on yeast overgrowth or viruses or even bacteria. The silver ion is an integral and important part of the body's immune system response to infections and disease. The DNA of the body is already pre-programmed to utilize silver to fight infections and disease. Silver ions are absorbed into the bloodstream and transported to all the tissues of the body and stored on the surface of white blood cells. The silver ion is bonded to the surface of adult stem cells and causes dedifferentiation of the adult stem cells into the embryonic state, leading to tissue regeneration. I think that's why and how it heals burns so well, is it actually creates new tissue. New healthy tissue growth is at least 5 to 6 times faster when you utilize silver in wound treatment when contrasted with non-silver treatments. The silver ion aids the body's ability to find the focal point of treatment through the body's signaling mechanisms, which is through its electrical conductivity. And as we started out, and which is Jenny's favorite line, that silver has the highest electrical conductivity of any metal. The silver ion aids the body's ability to digest pathogens, and it aids the body in the correction of the associated complex metabolic consequences associated with long-term infectious states. And there's more. Wow, we go on. Yeah, one of the things, I may mention it here in the list, but silver helps neutralize the Herxheimer reaction. And that's why we use it as the first line for our yeast management program. We use the Pico Silver along with Flora Revive. Continuing this list, the effects of the silver ion in anti-aging approaches is very promising, although clinical research has not been fully funded. Silver ion has a beneficial effect upon co-infections simultaneously. So it'll work. It can work on yeast, viruses, and bacteria. You don't have to have 3 different types of drugs. The silver ion will readily pass the blood-brain barrier, allowing for interface and intervention with neurological diseases such as ALS, MS, polio, spinal meningitis, and viral encephalitis. The silver ion increases the red blood cell count. It's known to negatively affect bacteria through lethal oxidation, an intermolecular electron transfer resulting in electrocution, a binding and chelating to essential pathogen receptor sites, which defeats the pathogen's mechanism of invasion into host cells, and an ion non-dependent heightened catalytic action and cleavage, which fragments and thereby destroys essential pathogen proteinaceous structures. It's pretty awesome. Once the silver ion ruptures a bacterial staph infection or certain fungal infections, the remaining silver ion particles begin to act as an antidote to the resulting poisons, lessening the Herxheimer reaction. I mentioned that earlier. The silver ion has a very high therapeutic value because there's no known lethal dose. Our customers are raving about the benefits of Pico Silver. And here's one of Joan, a longtime customer, one of her testimonials. Years of happy marriage to a smoker created in me a chronic dry smoker's cough, back-to-back sinus infections spanning several decades, and even now, 7 years as a widow, I still hack as if I was the smoker. I began to add Pico Silver to my daily routine, and I found myself just adding a teaspoon here and there throughout the day, not really aiming towards anything specific, but specific things magically happened. So she says, bleeding gums from rigorous brushing stopped. My morning hacking sessions went from dry to extremely wet, where I let go of a lot of lingering mucus in my lungs, which is now expectorated appropriately. I normally do not sweat, but I began to sweat, which kept my body temperature from spiking hot to cold and back. So she began to normally sweat, which is important. She says, I no longer have ankle swelling in the heat. I seem to be able to actually control my bladder. When caught short, I can hold. Lastly, my taste buds woke up. Everything is just delicious, and I'm satisfied with smaller quantities. And she said, this is all just with Pico Silver. I mean, this woman, she's a scientist, and so she does science on her body, and she gives us incredible reports. So it's all pretty awesome. We do have the many uses of Pico Silver. Maybe I'll hold on that. I think at this point I have a couple of dozen. Or should I go through them, Ginny, now? Or do you want to take a break and do the chat or phones?
We don't have any questions. Everybody just says, yay, Pico Silver, because everybody knows how great Pico Silver is. We don't have any questions right now. So I think we should just celebrate the many uses.
I do too, because you don't know until you know. And I put down a bunch in the first edition of Pico Silver, and then people started throwing in, what they were using it for. I mean, what's the latest that we talked about a week or so ago? Someone sprayed it on her husband's herpes zoster, shingles, and she said within the first application, the redness and swelling went down, and after a couple of days, it was pretty much totally under control. This is shingles that can cause such pain and debility. I mean, anyway, for cold sores and flus, you can take up to 1 teaspoon every 2 hours while awake for a total of 6 teaspoons. You can swish and swallow straight or put it in a couple of ounces of water, swish, gargle, and swallow. For coughs or pneumonias, 1 teaspoon in a nebulizer, inhale for 10 minutes, repeat several times a day. Nasal congestion, hold several drops in your palm and snuff several times a day. Actually, we'll have to change that to getting a nasal syringe. I got one little blue glass nasal inhalers, I guess you'd call them. You just poke you stick a little tube up at the entrance of your nostril and you squirt and inhale several times. I mean, that's taking care of my postnasal drip and, any sort of sinus problem with my yeast. For traveler's diarrhea, 1 teaspoon with a teaspoon of aloe vera juice every 1 to 2 hours while awake. I'm finding a lot of typos here that are distracting me. Food poisoning, 1 teaspoon with a teaspoon of aloe every 2 hours while awake, same as the traveler's diarrhea. Cystitis, 1 teaspoon every 2 hours while awake for a total of 6 teaspoons. I cut it off at 6 teaspoons. I figure that's enough. Vaginitis, a tablespoon, along with 2 tablespoons boiled or distilled water, and douche with that. Douche twice a day. Sore throat, gum infection, dental infection, gargle or spray gums and throat. Conjunctivitis, 2 drops in each eye several times a day. Some of our customers have, including the husband of our Ginny, you use it on your pet's eyes, right, Ginny?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Safe. Ear infections, fill the ear with 5 to 10 drops and leave in for 5 minutes. And then you just roll over and let it leak out into a paper towel. Disinfecting toothbrushes. People don't realize that if you have a cold or congestion, that it's important to sterilize your toothbrushes or you just keep reinfecting yourself. So you can put a teaspoon into a cup of purified or distilled water, leave it there, leave it overnight, change it every day. Cuts, abrasions, cat scratches, spray several times a day. Skin rashes, spray on affected area twice a day. And what I would do with a real bad rash or even an infection, I would take some cosmetic clay, or if they have a clay that says it's edible, so that's a safe clay, you can mix in Pico Silver instead of water, make it into a paste with Pico Silver. I've done with Pico Silver and Pico Zinc together and use that as an incredible poultice. For acne, for kids who have acne, make them up clay, Pico Silver, Pico Zinc, mushy clay what's the consistency? Well, you can just try it out. If it sticks on your skin, then that's what you want. You don't want to put a thick chunk on the skin. You can thin it out with the Pico Zinc and the Pico Silver so that it's just kind of mushy. And with the back of a spoon, you can just spread it on the cheeks or whatever. I'm using that on a kid that I work with at the farmer's market, and it's working. Deodorant, spray on armpits to kill odor forming bacteria. I use the Pico Silver and the Remag liquid together. But Ginny the other day said that she uses the Flora Refresh, and that would be just as good because it has Pico Silver, Pico Zinc, Remag, and some nice smelling things. Athlete's foot, spray on affected area twice a day. As a shoe disinfectant, spray inside the sole and let air dry after wearing to prevent bacterial odors, kill the bacteria. Dandruff and seborrheic dermatitis, spray on scalp to kill dandruff causing fungus. Hair loss, members who are using Pico Silver for dandruff report rapid head hair growth in thinning or balding areas. You can also spray a 50-50 undiluted solution of Pico Silver and Remag because they both enhance hair growth. Nail fungal infection, spray or drop on nails twice a day. Someone told us for their radiation treatment for their breast cancer, spray the affected area twice a day and they don't get any radiation burns. Root canal irrigation. This is how I used it. I had a root canal and the dentist doesn't irrigate with ozone, which one of my previous dentists did. So I took him a new bottle of Pico Silver, asked him to irrigate with it, and he did. And when I came home, I gargled or rinsed on that side of my mouth with a combination of Remag and Pico Silver and healed up in a flash. Healing umbilical cord wounds, spray on the umbilicus of both mother and infant several times a day. And the number 24 was spray on herpes zoster or shingles. So it's incredible. So I think someone said they'd been bitten by a spider or an ant or something, and they used Pico Silver, or maybe it was Flora Refresh. But if you have one or the other, just use it on, whatever, on a burn, on whatever comes up. That's what you do. And we did have a few blog questions, but I'll stop again, take a drink, and ask Ginny if she has anything to input.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I thought this was such a cute comment that Charcelyn Digby on the chat line wrote in. My granddad said it's like Texas Pete's hot sauce. He puts that stuff on everything. And that's great. Texas Pete is really good too. Oh, and Diana said, I just love learning more uses for Pico Silver. Presume it can be used to treat a sty on the eye. And I would say absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But
go ahead.
I just have to say, everybody, and anybody who's in the sound of my voice listening to this, you must have a bottle of Pico Silver in your home, and you must have a nebulizer. Because if you have that, you have the key to anything you might need when it comes to this whole silly flu business, and even for friends and family. And we can go down the list. I mean, Carolyn, when I was talking to our friend Bob, not your husband, the other day on the phone, his bronchitis was so bad. He sounded like he was on death's door.
Oh, dear.
And he got that Pico Silver and the nebulizer. And within 3 days, he says, well, you know what? I think this stuff kind of works.
Oh God. Oh.
I mean, it's amazing what Pico Silver will do if you nebulize it and you take it in through your nose and your lungs.
Mhm.
It's so important. And one of our customers told us that they were doing that for their sinuses and it cleared up their clogged ears. So
Mhm.
anything related to your head and, if you've got tinnitus and problems in your ear canals and stuff like that, it's all related to your sinus, your nasal passages, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And, it can also be a really serious cause of loss of sleep because
Mm.
melatonin is made in the ears. And if you've
Mm.
got problem in your ears and you're out of balance with your melatonin, then you could be losing sleep from that whole congestion in that
Wow.
area. So for sure, please, please, please have your Pico Silver and your nebulizer, and then you're ready for anything.
Right. And this Bob that Jenny's talking about, he's in his 80s. And I thought he told me he was using a nebulizer, but it turns out he was just using a vaporizer. So he'd put, a teaspoon in a gallon of a vaporizer.
Mm.
And, he thought it was helping or whatever. But Ginny just, shook his tree and told him to get the nebulizer and, just suck that Pico Silver right into your lungs. And that's what it took. And this is what we hear, from a lot of people. And I've said it many times and I'll keep saying it. If something's not working, you're not taking enough because these things work. We know they do.
Yep.
So just remember, if you don't think it's working, call up customer service and we'll tell you you're not taking enough. And about the eyes, mentioning the sty in the eye, we haven't mentioned yet how our friend Deb, she says she takes a little tiny dab on her little, pinky finger, a little tiny dab of the Renew serum. And she dabs it on her closed eyelid, not wiping it all over like you're putting on makeup, but just a little dab. And she says her vision has improved by just doing that.
Yep. I believe it because there is an attunement and it's hard to prove, but we know it's there and it's a frequency within the drops and the Renew and all those other aspects of the RNA drops, and it will adjust the frequency. When you think about it, what are your eyes doing? But they're translating vibration, which is frequency. So it would make sense that the more you strengthen your eyes, the more your vibration would improve and the more your hearing would be, your seeing would be very clear.
Right. Okay, then quickly the blog questions. Somebody says, I'm a big user of your products for my wife and myself. I'm curious what your opinion is of MMS or chlorine dioxide. I believe it's a Jim Humboldt protocol. Is it safe and has the media vilified it in order to protect Big Pharma? Well, as Ginny would say, I try everything. So I tried MMS. It's a chlorine, it's a bleach. And yes, I tried it because I had to know what everybody was talking about. And yes, bleach will kill things, fine. But I tried it, and actually I ruined my taste for coconut juice for a long time because you have to put it in something to kill the chlorine taste. So after a while, even coconut juice would make me gag thinking about it. So it's kind of hard to take, but it will do something because it is a bleach and bleach kills things. But is it indiscriminately just going to kill what you want it to kill? Or will it, we say oxidize stuff you don't want oxidized? Because that's what it's doing. So, maybe 20 years ago when I first started hearing about MMS and I didn't have the Pico Silver or the ions that we have that get right into the cells, the Pico Zinc, maybe people, thought that they had to have something like that. You don't have to have that anymore, because you can have, very safe and effective picometer minerals that will do what Jim claims the chlorine dioxide does. And I don't know if that answers the question, but I certainly wouldn't use it. I still have a bottle of MMS, but would not take it anymore. Anne is saying, I recently heard that colloidal silver is good to use in nebulizer with hydrogen peroxide as a remedy for the virus that shall not be named. And she gives a formula and and she says, how much Pico Silver should be added to this mixture? Well, I know hydrogen peroxide can be very useful. I just think it's another one of these, it's like a drug. It kills things, and that's fine. Hydrogen peroxide is cheap, but there's so many forms now. There's 3% and 10%. People don't know how to mix it. They're using the wrong amounts. It does, when I've used it in the past, it kind of seems strong and cutting. So again, I just go for straight Pico Silver. So it's not a matter of making a recipe or anything. You just, in the little nebulizer well, WELL, which takes about a teaspoon, you can put in the whole teaspoon of Pico Silver. If you have an asthma situation, you can use Remag, but for Remag, I personally cut it in half. So half a teaspoon of saline, half a teaspoon of Remag. I haven't used Pico Zinc. I think people have been using Pico Zinc because it is very helpful for infections. So I just go to Pico Silver and not try to figure out about the hydrogen peroxide. It's another kind of like bleach substance. Kathy is asking, how much Pico Silver do I need to take for ongoing yeast overgrowth? She's been says she's been taking Remag, Remite, and vitamin C for a couple of years now. Well, what you do, Kathy, is look at our Reset the Yeast Connection book and just go over all the issues there. And in the beginning, I talk about the yeast management protocol, which is Pico Silver and Flora Revive. They both work together. And the dosage, it can be 2 to 4 teaspoons of Pico Silver, but the standard, I maintain myself on 2 teaspoons a day. Next, Michael says, I believe you once said nebulizing could be a good way to take silver. I have asthma and emphysema. Will nebulizing these two together be good for me? So I already mentioned that, that I've put half Pico Silver, half Remag together and used it in a nebulizer. But I don't nebulize as much as I think Ginny does right now. I tend to just squirt the Pico Silver in my nose. Every couple of days I squirt a couple of squirts, and I try, if I go out, to when I come home, to spray myself down with the Flora Refresh. So that's my protocol, besides taking all the formulas. I take all the formulas every day, all day and every day. Over to you, Ginny. We have a few minutes until the top of the hour.
I just want to say the other thing, in the beginning when we had Dr. Levy on last year, and he talked about at the very beginning of the virus that shall not be named, he talked about nebulizing hydrogen peroxide. Mm-hmm. And we talked about Pico Silver with him as well, which he was a big fan of. And so in the beginning, I kind of leaned toward that more hydrogen peroxide because it seemed like it might be more effective, and it is definitely more demonstrated as far as like clinical studies and things like that. You can get a lot of support for that. But it doesn't do anything with the stem cells. and it doesn't have any other benefit, whereas silver does. And so, you know, now that I see the effectiveness, I mean, it's just all around us. I mean, the people that have shared their testimonials about using the Pico Silver, Greg's business partner, Perry, who's had chronic asthma issues, finally got around to nebulizing the Pico Silver. And then he left his nebulizer at home, took off for a job site for a week, and got halfway through the week and realized he was miserable because he had left his Pico Silver back at the house, and he wasn't giving it that much credibility. Now he takes it everywhere he goes. He's got it in his work truck with him. And you know, same with our friend Alan, who went out to Vegas with us and was having a difficult time breathing. He's an asthmatic, and he was picking up on the cigarette smoke in the different parts of the casino. He got kicked out of his system right away. So I just say that to say, you know, you're not only giving the effect of the benefit, but you're also restoring their lungs.
Yeah, now that's the reason. There it is. Rather than just the hydrogen peroxide killing something, you're taking the Pico Silver, which supports the immune system, plus, you know, dozens of other systems in the body. Yeah, that's the perfect reasoning there. Very good, Ginny. Thank you.
You're actually healing the tissues in the cilia and the lungs, which I think is so exciting. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, because you know, there's a certain point in chronic lung problems, chronic bronchitis, where those little cilia, the little hairy bits on the inside of your bronchial tubes, they're just flat. They've given up, and they're what is supposed to wave the mucus up to your throat so that you expectorate. And that's what coughing is about, is to try to move the mucus up. But if your cilia have given up, then that's when, you know, mucus builds up in your lungs feel heavy. That's when you'll get a pneumonia. And that's where we say you have to hydrate yourself. You have to drink enough water, and then you have to do the Pico Silver and maybe Pico Zinc as well, nebulizing, and the Pico Silver especially, because you can make new cilia. If with the Pico Silver going to the stem cells and making new baby stem cells that can go wherever the body deems is important, what's more important than your lungs, then it will grow new cilia. You'll get your lungs back.
Yeah. That's the next clinical study, is to get former smokers to start healing their lungs with Pico Silver and see what the recovery is, because I can just imagine how people would benefit from doing that to heal their lungs. Yeah,
and that would be easy enough, because you have those spirometers, I think they're called, where you blow in and you measure the amount of air in your lungs. You can't push out the air if your bronchial tubes aren't working properly. So yeah, that's cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll do an independent clinical study, Carolyn and I will. All right, well, we've just got a few minutes, but listen, Susie asked a great question, Carolyn, that I want you to take on at the top of the hour, which is, will Pico Silver help with neck pain or sore joints? Or would another product work better? And I think I know what your answer to that. And also Sonia's saying that she's out and she needs some more, and can she get a discount? And I just want to say that we have big discounts going for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, starting in the 22nd of this month. But call customer service and just be nice to them, support at rnareset.com, and see if they'll give you a break before the sale begins, because we don't want you to be without, just waiting for a sale. Okay, that's not the point of doing it. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back at the top of the hour with your comments, questions, more callers, and our mailbag. So stay tuned, everybody.
with Hour 2 of the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with host Ginny Sanders, right after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com. That's drcarolyndean.com.
Did you know there are 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency? Magnesium deficiency is a public health crisis growing in scope and proportion. Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of The Magnesium Miracle, has identified over 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency, 100 factors that lead to magnesium deficiency, and 24 reasons why magnesium deficiency occurs. Order The Magnesium Miracle today at Amazon.com and learn how to remedy this pervasive condition.
Do you have questions about your health? Are you wondering about alternatives? Do you ever wish you could have 5 minutes with a doctor you can trust? Someone who is an internationally recognized authority in the field of natural medicine? Meet award-winning doctor, naturopath, and best-selling author of The Magnesium Miracle, Carolyn Dean, MD, ND. Hear a wealth of information designed to empower listeners and callers to discover how to improve health, vitality, and well-being through a variety of safe strategies and nutritional options. Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. Shows can be heard every Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, with weekly live shows, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Natural health, vitality, and well-being. Yes, everyone wants it, but not everyone is sure how to achieve it. Dr. Carolyn Dean's Completement Formulas are more than just dietary supplements. They're whole foods and picometer minerals designed to complete your nutrition, not just supplement it. Experience the difference Dr. Dean's formulas make. Visit RNAreset.com to learn more. That's RNARESET.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. With more than 40 years at the forefront of holistic studies, Omega is known the world over as a trusted source for integrated approaches to personal growth and social change. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Return now to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders. Phone lines are open during live broadcast.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, glad you're hanging with us. Hour 2 is always so much fun. We get to take callers. So I want to talk to Dr. Dean. We've got a lot of questions and answers here and people on the chat. Thanks for tuning into our YouTube channel as well. And be sure to like the Dream Vision 7 video and then subscribe so that you can get notifications the next time the show comes on so you don't miss it again. And we've got some great topics between now and the end of the year that you're going to enjoy hearing. Couple things, Carolyn, let's go back to some of the questions that people were asking. I want to go to this question about Susie Mueller asking, will Pico help with neck pain or sore joints, or would you recommend another product? What do you have to say about that?
Well, we did have testimonials right from the beginning of Pico Silver, people telling us that one woman, her shoulder joint, she'd had, what was it, frozen shoulder, I guess it was, for a long time. And she said when she started taking Pico Silver, it went away. And that happened a couple of times. And then it made me think about Chinese medicine when I took my Chinese medicine training, that the Chinese say, in order to protect the internal organs from infections, that the divergent meridians in the body, they say they're actually energy meridians that will divert the infection away from the internal organs, put it in the joints, which is supposedly a safer place. So definitely the Pico Silver could help sore joints, maybe neck pain as well, but then you're going to want to use the Remag. Remag is very important for the inflammation and maybe the calcification that occurs in the bones of the neck, and also in joints. So a lot of pain in the feet is calcification, and that's where Remag can be very helpful. But if a person is with someone who's a pain in the neck, or a coworker or partner or family member, if they're a pain in the neck, you can get neck pain just as a reaction to that. So you look at the conflict that could be causing these symptoms as well. And then there's the yeast overgrowth. Some people will have sore joints and even neck pain from yeast overgrowth and the toxins that deposit. I think my neck pain was probably magnesium deficiency. So everybody's different. And again, we don't prescribe these formulas for a condition. We tell people, experiment with all the formulas in sufficient quantities and see what works best for you.
Very good. Very good. Yes, I remember the very first thing that happened. We did the video, and here's the resource that you can also look at, Susie, which was called it was about Pico Silver and what did you call it? Subclinical
infections. Yeah.
Infections. And I remember hearing that webinar, and as you were teaching it, thinking to myself that must have been what had happened when both Julie and Dickie, who works in customer service, and I got the Pico Silver at the same time. And we swore up and down. We felt like we were high for like 3 weeks. It was just pure euphoria. And I was like, okay, that could explain it then. Maybe whatever, like little pig penish kind of level of yick underneath my skin or whatever just got swept out and cleaned up. So I always had my own personal experience with Pico Silver, just being so energized when we first got it, and it still does that. But I think that might be clearing out or swabbing out that low level of infection that's just in everybody's body, that it just kind of carries away and deals with.
Right. Yeah. We don't know how much better we could feel until we are saturated with the nutrients the body requires. That's all.
Yeah.
And we have that opportunity, and luckily, well, maybe a majority of our customers realize that. They'll start with Remag and feel good and say, wow, what else can I take? And they add things and feel better and better. So yeah, you can feel as good as you want to feel.
Yep, absolutely. Now Maya is asking, she says, can increasing vitamin D without increasing magnesium create symptoms like achy joints. I take 8,000 IUs of vitamin D and just started to take K2 with it. Would 90 to 120 of K2 be fine? And so I asked how much magnesium she is taking with the D. And she says she's only taking a half a teaspoon of Remag. She was taking a teaspoon, but then went down because she was getting itchy hands. And then wanted to increase the Remag after that subsided. And she also wants to know if increasing vitamin D without increasing magnesium can cause muscle and nerve pain.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's our whole thesis about vitamin D. Gosh, I forget now how many steps. Is it 8 of 13 steps in activating vitamin D require magnesium? So when you take a good amount of vitamin D, you are going to be pulling your magnesium into that function away from your nerves and your muscles. So a daily dose of Remag should probably be about 2 teaspoons. And if you're going to take extra vitamin D, all of a sudden, you might need an extra half teaspoon. And the vitamin K2, I mean, that's where with our vitamin D K2, we put them in balance. And I did notice, Jenny mentioned the Grassroots Health. I noticed Grassroots Health had something about the ratio between, is there a ratio of vitamin D to vitamin K? And I haven't even read this or listened to this yet, but I don't know what it says. There's a doctor here who's big on bone health, but she doesn't give enough magnesium either. So I guess what I'd say about our vitamin D is I put the vitamin D and K2 together so that there wouldn't be too much K2, because there's some controversy about using too much K2.
Well, Carolyn, also the K2 just drives the calcium into the bone. It's not to activate the magnesium, the vitamin D. And I think that's a big distinction here, because you're talking about taking a higher dose of vitamin D, which could be great. And she also said, I think that she's having a little bit of problem with the breathing that comes from, oh no, that was Susie, that was somebody else. Sorry, never mind. I got them scrambled up here. So yeah, I mean, K2 drives the calcium into the bone, but it's not the same as the 8 steps to activate vitamin D that magnesium requires.
Yeah, very nice. Very good. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some words to look at. Personally, I would be increasing my Remag.
Right. What do we think about Remag creating itchy hands?
Oh, that can be just the immune system starting to dump yeast and yeast toxins coming out. Anything itchy, rashy in the midst of doing our protocol indicates that the body's trying to dump infections. So it's a good thing, but you might think, oh no, I got a side effect. But what you do is then look at the potential you have for yeast overgrowth and just get more proactive about it.
Right, like cutting out wheat, sugar, and dairy, which in those order, not necessarily any order, but just eliminating one of those 3 will probably be very helpful, especially when it comes to itchy hands.
Right, and then Pico Silver and Flora Revive if you're trying to overcome a yeast overgrowth problem.
New Earth Television said Pico Silver is great. The RNA drops, I believe, made my last meditation extra powerful. I believe that too. The Flora Refresh Spray is great for all over use, not just my hands. All the products are working together to heal and restore. So thank you. That's very sweet. Yes, I agree about your meditation. Very expansive. And the other thing I want to say, Susie was talking about her symptoms of neck pain and sore joints. And also she's got a cough, our long haul symptoms from the no-name virus going on for 9 weeks. So what's really interesting, audience, is exciting, is Dr. Dean, the author of the Magnesium Miracle, is going to be talking with Dr. Taylor Wallace, researcher extraordinaire, this week about his most recent research paper, the relationship between magnesium and long COVID. And we don't know all that Taylor's going to say, but it sounds like it's pretty exciting, his findings that magnesium is highly supportive and required to, because many people go into COVID with the magnesium deficiency already pre-existing.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be fun. I wonder what I'll say.
I wonder what you will say. You'll say, tell me all, Taylor.
Tell me all. Yeah, he's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's everywhere. Well, he's in Guatemala right now working on a children's study. He does the Dr. Oz show frequently. I mean, he's just a ball of energy, and we're so happy that he loves us and is working with us. He's doing, our next study is down Colorado, working with cyclists, and he somehow even talked the IRB board, institutional review board of the university there, into doing muscle biopsies to find out what our remag does at the mitochondrial level. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So very exciting.
Very exciting. So we'll have a lot of updating for you next show on long COVID. We may not be able to talk about it in all of its detail, but you know, Carolyn, she'll be excited when she finds out exactly what the relationship between magnesium is. And Taylor already wrote about it. You can Google Dr. Taylor Wallace, magnesium and COVID, and you'll find his earlier paper from 2020 talking about the role of magnesium deficiency in COVID susceptibility. So it's definitely a thing, it's out there, and it's definitely a reality that a lot of people who did encounter the COVID issue were deficient in magnesium and vitamin D, of course. I mean, those are the two predominant things. And then the third one, of course, being zinc, which would describe why people were having no taste, no smell, which is zinc deficiency indicator. So you get those things, you've got yourself covered, and then we're going to get into recovery. So hang in there, Susie. And
nebulize.
Yeah, nebulize the Pico Silver. Yeah. My wife has a low red and white blood count. Would Pico Silver help this?
Don't know. I personally, if I had low white and red blood count, would be taking Pico Silver, even 3 teaspoons a day and see what happens. Blood is family. So you look at the conflict of what's going on with the family that could be causing the blood to be affected.
Wow. Okay. Very good. And also somebody just texted me a testimonial, Carolyn, that I wanted to read to you about Pico Silver. She said, great show tonight. I'm sending you this testimonial for Pico Silver. 2 years ago, I had a lumpectomy, and after the radiation was finished, I had a round burn patch on my breast resulting from that. For the whole month of the sessions, I put Pico Silver in my water every day. I attribute that protocol to the burn healing very fast and diminishing very quickly afterwards. Thank you to Dr. Dean for her products and helping people to heal. And you are so welcome. Thank you for texting me. So good to hear from you. Yeah, that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's take, do you have things you want to do, Carolyn? I think we're caught up on the chat line. Thanks everybody for being so active and wonderful tonight. We've got phone callers on the line. Again, you've got the number here. And of course, Deborah puts it up every week, which is 646-558-8656. And then you hit the ID 8836953587. Also, if you're on the chat line, give us a little feedback on the Men's Health Show last week. What did you think? Or did you just think it was amazing and all the people were fantastic and we had such a good time? And let us know if there's any other topics that you'd like us to consider between now and the end of the year. So, Carolyn, would you like to talk to some people?
Sure, let's go to the phones.
Okay, very good. All right, so area code 718, hit *6 on your phone to unmute. Area code 718. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Dr. Dean. This is Alan from Brooklyn, and hello, Jenny.
Hi, Alan.
How are you? I have a couple of quick questions tonight. First of all, the Men's Health Show was phenomenal last week. It was great having it on. I really appreciated it, and I'm planning on listening to it again. I'm going to review it later.
Nice.
Two questions. I have a 2.5-year-old grandson who every time he gets a cold starts getting into wheezing, and his mother's been giving him stuff like albuterol, I guess. And he also gets a low oxygen level. How much Pico Silver would you recommend for him?
If it were my grandson, I mean, the parts per million, the dosage is very low. What is it, Jenny? 100?
I think it's 20,000 parts per million, or am I confusing
Ours is just 20 parts per million. The Pico Silver? Yeah.
Pico Silver.
20, yeah,
it's 20. What would I do? I'd probably just start with a teaspoon a day, put it in his drinking water.
They don't even bother with putting in a nebulizer.
And I would nebulize, because if he's had it long term, the body wants to heal the lungs. So, and I would neblize. Do you think your daughter or son will do that?
My grandson, he would definitely take, whether she would give it to me. I think, I'll ask her. I mean, there's only one way to find out. It's better than going to a pulmonologist. Number 2 question. For the last, I have to tell you, I've increased my D3K2 reset to 3 pills a day because I really want to get my vitamin D level up. But I've been finding recently I've been getting what I feel is AFib attacks. Now, I've also simultaneously, because even when I was at 2 pills, I found my magnesium level was dropping. So I couldn't believe how easy it was to go up. I went up from 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of magnesium. Do you think it's a magnesium issue because of all the vitamin D?
I do. It just, that's what happens. And the body may sort itself out, but in the beginning, when you increase vitamin D, you have to increase your REMAG. And if you've got a history of AFib, then you should be on, 2 to 3 teaspoons a day anyway. So
I'm going to go, I was never able to get myself over 1.5 teaspoons, so I went up but raised my vitamin D levels. So I think I'm going to go for 2.5 teaspoons. I'll add another
good.
0.5 teaspoon.
And Alan, do you sip it or try to sip through the day?
Oh, I always sip it through the day.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, if you had gone to 2 teaspoons of REMAG before the addition of the extra vitamin D, you would have gotten the laxative effect.
Absolutely. I couldn't even get to 1.75 teaspoons. And now in like a week, I went up to 2 teaspoons and I had no problem. I couldn't believe it.
So that's because your REMAG was necessary and needed for your vitamin D. So there's another, you did your own experiment on the importance of the 2 of them together.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I also had, when I had taken my Grassroots Health, my magnesium dropped from 74 to 49 or something like that in about 6 months. So that shows that my magnesium was going down. So
yeah, mine did the same. Went down when my vitamin D went up, but we'll get to a balance point and figure it all out. But it's kind of fun. I know you're kind of an experimenter too. So
I have to tell you, Dr. Dean, I've actually got my wife finally. I got her on only not that much yet, but I got her up to 1/4 teaspoon of magnesium, and she's taking 1/4 teaspoon of Remite, and I'm slowly increasing her in increments of 1/8 teaspoon because she always used to complain about getting side effects. But so far, everything's working perfectly. I'm really excited about it.
Well, that's wonderful. And you're one of our best men examples. Ginny gets after me for teasing the men that, why should I even bother with the men? They don't care about their health. But you definitely are
Well, thank you.
Yeah, a very good example. I appreciate you. Right, Ginny?
I appreciate you. You're amazing. You're absolutely you're the best of the best. You're a gift from God. That's all I can say.
Oh, thank you, Alan, and I will not let it go to my head. I promise you that.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else besides
that's all. I'll let somebody else have a chance. Thank you.
Right. And then there's Ginny too, Alan. What do you think of Ginny?
Ginny's also, I said, like, Ginny's like the older sister or something or other. I mean, she's been phenomenal, and I'm sure she's younger than me, but I think of her as an older sister.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, we have such an amazing team, Alan. I mean,
the whole team, the people there in customer support are out of this world. I mean, I really feel like we should be paying you a lot more money than we do for the stuff that you sell. But no complaints. You don't have to raise the prices on that.
No, we won't. Well, thank you so much, Alan. I'm so glad you're doing better, and that your wife is able to take the formulas.
We'll get her now that I have a measuring device that goes to 1/8 of a teaspoon. We're going to sneak it in there, an extra 1/8 of a teaspoon at a time.
Yep.
And I mix hers also in a bottle of water, shake it up, and make her sip it the whole day.
But what about? Do you use the vitamin C reset berry powder?
So I haven't been really good about taking vitamin C. I do take a 1/2 teaspoon of Pico Silver on a regular basis, and I've been taking the RNA reset drops. That I'm not as religiously taking them, but I should be taking them more.
Right.
And I even tried the Pico Potassium, by the way.
Well, what if Ginny sent you a complimentary bottle of our vitamin C reset berry powder? Would you take it?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. Yep. And that will help your wife, the taste of it. So it's like she's drinking
to mix it with her other stuff. I get it.
Right. For the berry soda. So Ginny, will you help Alan with that?
Yep, I'm going to do it right now.
Okay.
Very nice of you. Thank you very, very much. Have a great evening.
You're welcome. Bye, Alan. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Alan. Bye.
Bye.
There we go.
If you're on the line and you want to talk to Dr. Dean, you've got to hit *9 on your keypad. Will let me know you have a question or comment, and I'll put you on with Dr. Dean. Otherwise, we will continue to chitty chat away. There's a couple raised hands, so let me get to those. And again, you've got the number 646-558-8657, and then the ID 8836953587. And one day we are going to get that situated, but for now it's just a lot of numbers, but it doesn't matter because it leads to Dr. Dean. So let's go to area code 613. 613, if you can *6 your phone or hit the blue button, area code 613. I'll put you on the line with Dr. Dean. Area code 613. Well, we know you're there because you were just clicking away. Area code 613. Oh, there you go. Yay. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, it's Margaret.
Hi, Margaret. Good to hear your voice. What do you have for us
nice.
today?
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm really so excited to tell you that Bill is doing so well with those 3 teaspoons of Pico Silver in his water every day. I can't tell you. I mean, the urine runs so clear in that catheter, and you know what? I bought a rebounder a few months ago, and he's on that, and
oh,
it's amazing.
My goodness!
It's just it's wonderful. And I do up our jugs at night. I do it all, and I do all our water in one jug, and then I take out of that all through the day. Mm-hmm. And the catheter's causing some constipation things, but I'm playing with the Remag and the vitamin C powder. And but overall at 89, we're doing pretty good. Dr. Carolyn, thanks to you.
Oh, thank you, Margaret. Yeah. You sound great. I mean, you sound like a kid.
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a little tired sometimes, but honest to God, I don't know what I'd do without your products. I can't believe my energy. I can't believe it. He's sleeping well. which is wonderful. And I'm grateful.
Do you think
I'm grateful.
Do you think the prostate is changing, shifting?
Decreasing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't very pleased with the urologist we went to, so my doctor is trying to get us into another one.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll have to wait for that appointment to see just where we're at. And I think because of the constipation, it kind of makes me think that it's still kind of, But I'm giving him the teaspoon of zinc in his water every day, like you suggested, and with the dementia and everything. But it's still it's amazing. He's happy, and he's we're doing lots of things to stimulate, and it's there's a lot of gifts in it too.
Right. What about doing some natural calm or getting a magnesium citrate to have a laxative effect, since you've got to work around that prostate?
Because he was stabilized at 1.5 teaspoons, and I have him up to 3.5.
Yeah. So you do need more of a medicinal laxative effect, and you can do that with magnesium citrate.
Okay. How much would I give him? Do I just have to kind of find out, or?
You have to kind of find out, titrate it, start with a teaspoon and work up.
Okay. And then I decrease the Remag?
When he starts getting the laxative effect, then you cut back the magnesium citrate. The Remag at 3 or whatever could be very helpful. 3.5 could be very helpful for him. So, I thank you so much for your products. I'm telling you, I still tell everybody about them, and it's so real and so sincere. I'm just and your customer service, and of course now I'm dealing with Lorraine quite a bit too, right? Because of in Canada.
Finally, eh?
Well, finally and very kindly. I mean, the Canadian government is they just hate bringing anything in. It's awful. Yeah. But anyway,
it's ridiculous.
It's great that we got
persevered.
It's great that we got as far as we've gotten, and Lorraine is an absolute joy. And that is,
she is.
We're in the process of testing our affiliate process right now, or a process with her. But what we're doing is actually having to redirect the orders to our fulfillment center and send them up there so that we can get them out for her, because we're still trying to get things approved. But Lorraine herself is just an absolute joy, and she's so much fun to work with, isn't she?
Yeah. She's a doll, and I have to give Julie kudos too, because Julie's my friend.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Her. Oh my God!
It's so funny, Margaret. Some friends of mine over here, a couple of guys, actually, older gentlemen, they talk about Julie all the time. Oh, I was talking to Julie. I said, you mean I'm paying Julie a salary to talk to you guys? I mean, what? I'm paying her to be your friend. Is that what you're telling me? And that's what our customer service is so awesome. Doug will take calls, after work.
Yes, I've had Doug quite a bit too. He's wonderful too. They're all wonderful. My goodness.
I know.
It's delightful. But I just wanted to call you tonight. I hadn't talked to you for quite a while, and I know we've emailed, and I'm so appreciative, because I'm just doing everything I can, and I was actually doing castor oil packs and hot water bottles for a while there with Bill, and. But anyway, I'm doing what I want to do, what I have to do, and I know the way through you. So I can't thank you enough. You're just a gem, an absolute gem.
Thank you so much. And again, I will not let that go to my head.
Okay. Nor Jenny. She's a doll too.
Very good.
But thank you all so much.
Thank you. Give our love to Bill. Thank you.
I will. And it'll be 7 years in March since we started on the products.
I
Oh
was
my.
gonna say,
Woo.
Margaret, I mean, I remember because that was 2014. Yeah, so
Yep.
2015. Yeah,
Yep.
March of 2015. And we were over
Yep.
on Timber, Carolyn, all the way back in the day with that
Mhm.
little, oh God, that's so fun, Margaret. When I
Isn't that
think
something?
about
I
that.
actually was one of the lucky ones. I had to consult with Carolyn before you had to give it up, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Ah, right. Yes,
Yeah, it was
I
wonderful.
found the minute I found that I was just recommending my products to my consulting clients, I said, I can't do this. I just and then
Yeah.
Jenny stepped in and started training our customer service. Melody Rose was the first person, people who, you know, Melody Rose was on a dozen or more, probably 20 medications.
Yes, yes, yes.
And yeah,
Yep.
so she got herself
Oh,
all
she was lovely.
organized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah, no, she's another gem. Oh, boy, I tell you, all these gems you have.
Mhm.
But thank you so much. I'll let somebody else come on, but I just really wanted to say thank you. I just know we wouldn't be where we are without you.
Yes.
So thank you.
Margaret,
You're our dream of a doctor.
wait a minute. I just have to say this. Margaret is not only the sweetest person in the whole wide world, but do you know she took our formulas. Margaret, do you remember when you did this? You took our formulas to John of God all the way in Brazil.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I remember
Yes.
that. You were so
Yeah.
sweet. She was hauling our little bottles everywhere.
Oh,
telling
actually, you know what I did a lot? I didn't know if they'd let me across with them. So what I did, I put them in and used little homeopathic liquid bottles. You should have seen all the little bottles.
Oh
Funny.
my gosh, that is so sweet.
Because I didn't know, I mean, sometimes they don't let certain things across, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know, so I just used these empty homeopathic liquid bottles, and I put them all in there.
Funny.
Because I wasn't going to be without my stuff.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
right. That's right. Well,
No,
you are
no.
just such a sweetheart. I'm so glad you called. It was
Oh,
good to
thank
hear
you.
from you.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Take care, everybody.
Take
All the
care.
best.
Bye, Margaret.
Bye-bye.
Good
Bye-bye.
night, sweetheart. Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Yeah. What a love. What a love. Yeah. That's what keeps us going. All those wonderful people like Alan and Margaret and yeah.
Right. I think Margaret used to have little soirees where she would, gather all her friends and lecture about our formulas.
She did. She had a girlfriend party and she would give away, she would call me and she'd say, Jenny, can you send me a free bottle of Pico of Remag? I want to give it away as a prize. And she'd give away a bottle and have all of her girlfriends over and read them chapters out of the book.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yes.
so cute.
If I could have ever figured out how to get Margaret to do customer service from Canada, I would have. I mean, it would have been not effective cost-wise, but and of course she's retired. She's a beautiful career woman. Margaret's done a lot in her life. She's a very accomplished woman, but yes, I was just I do love her. She's such a dear. And all of our customers. I mean, we just have such great customers. Now, I will say this, Carolyn, I want to read this into the record. Sonia typed in and said, in answer to the other customer, Nara, Pico Silver did raise my blood count last month after it being very low for over 8 months.
Wow.
And she was also using the zinc. So she had zinc and Pico Silver and her blood count went up. So
wow.
There you go, guys, right there on the fly. There's the customer community coming to bat for one another. And Diana Orlando typed in a question and said, Margaret just struck a chord with me. My dad is 87 and he seems to do a lot of sleeping. When I come back in the afternoon, he's sleeping and he does so through the morning. Any thoughts on what I should do?
Well, it means he's dealing with, I guess, low energy. And we know that magnesium is important in the Krebs cycle and making the ATP energy molecules. 6 of the 8 steps of the Krebs cycle require magnesium. So I don't know what you have him on, Diana, but certainly Remag at 2.5, 3 teaspoons a day is going to be helpful. And you can start people right away on minerals and the vitamin C reset berry powder. You make him up a liter bottle of the Remag and the berry powder and say, just drink this through the day. And you don't start with the 2.5 teaspoons, you start with a 1/4 teaspoon, and each new bottle you make up, you add another 1/4 teaspoon until he's, if there's a complaint about the laxative effect at 2 teaspoons, then just keep it at a 1.75 teaspoons. But that's what will help. And we don't have a clue what's going on with your dad, but you start with the Remag.
Okay, very good, very good, excellent. All righty, yes. Let's see what else we have to do. Did you have testimonials you wanted to read, Carolyn? We've got about 20 minutes to the top of the show.
Right. Well, what I had, somebody in customer service, I think a question came through about Lyme disease. And I wondered what have I written about Lyme disease? And it turns out in Reset the Yeast Connection, I have a whole section on Lyme. And let me just tell you what this customer said, and then, my response. Hi, Dr. Carolyn. I recently found out about you, your products, and community of support. I've listened to numerous podcasts, and I've been reading your website. I have added to the depth of my health knowledge extensively so far. My underlying premise of health is that it is broken down by yeast overgrowth and mineral deficiencies. Oh, this is me talking. Yeah, I should put a star. So I had emailed this answer. So I tell this person, my premise of health is that yeast overgrowth and mineral deficiencies drive chronic problems. And that's the focus of my complement formulas. So she says, my first order arrived the other day, starting low and slow. Look forward to continued health rejuvenation. I heard some mention of Lyme disease several times. Would you please share your perspective of Lyme disease? I realize the approach to support the body can be different if it is chronic or acute. So I said, when I was in practice, I did not treat Lyme disease. It hadn't even started then. They say it came out of a lab in Long Island in a county called Lyme. So I have no clinical experience, I said. However, I did write about it in chapter 6 of my book, Reset the Yeast Connection. Here's that text. So I sent the text, but people can download the free ebook and read what I have to say about Lyme. It's a spirochete, recognized in 1975 in Lyme, Connecticut. That's the name. I don't claim to treat it, but I outline the specifics of how the complement formula can support the body against Lyme. And I say most Lyme literate doctors use magnesium as part of their treatment protocol. Some say at least 80% of Lyme sufferers are magnesium deficient. I say that 80% of the general population is deficient in magnesium. So I would put the Lyme population even higher. But like most practitioners, they tell their patients to take magnesium to the point of bile tolerance. However, with the creation of the picometer stabilized iron form of magnesium Remag, Lyme patients can take enough magnesium to become saturated, open up the 1,000 enzyme systems in the body, and activate 80% of metabolic functions. Magnesium saturation helps alleviate many Lyme symptoms affecting the nerves and muscles, helps decrease the infectious load, detoxifies heavy metals, and supports hormone function. Of course, I would be adding Pico Silver here. And treating yeast, most Lyme patients have been, this is a sidebar, most Lyme patients have been on antibiotics, so they definitely have yeast overload on top of everything else. Number 2, thyroid and adrenal function are compromised in Lyme disease. Instead of hormone replacement therapy for these organs, I recommend a multiple mineral called Remite. 9 of the 12 minerals support thyroid hormone production. Remite, along with the methylated and food-based Bs in Realign, supports adrenal function and stimulates the immune system. When the thyroid is compromised and thyroid hormones are reduced, a lower body temperature results, which is more compatible with Lyme and yeast overgrowth. So you have to treat the thyroid. Number 4, Pico Silver solution is part of the rotating antifungals in the yeast reset detox. Most, if not all, Lyme doctors use silver as part of their protocol to support the structure and function of the immune system. And of course, as you've heard today, our Pico Silver is far superior to any colloidal products. Number 5, gentle detoxification is a necessary part of Lyme treatment. Realign contains 2 sulfur-based amino acids, taurine and methionine. The sulfur molecule in these amino acids is important for fueling the sulfur detox pathways in the liver. Methionine is a precursor to the body's most important antioxidant, glutathione. The methyl groups in 4 of the B vitamins in Realign support the methyl detox pathways in the liver. Yeast toxins, toxins from all infectious organisms, heavy metals, and chemicals are all addressed by this form of detoxification with the Realign. Number 6, I recommend a yeast detox and yeast diet or keto diet to most of my clients and customers. I think the keto diet is especially important in Lyme disease because avoiding fats can lead to weakening of the fatty layer and cell membranes. So the keto diet has fats. So you don't want a you don't want a carb diet and low fat diet if you're trying to keep your nerve cell membranes intact. So there's a fatty layer in all cell membranes, and including, yes, the neurons in the brain. Lyme is called a neurological disease that is escalating at a time when our nerves are frayed. They're frayed from lack of magnesium as well as lack of fat. 7, Mthfr genetic variation is often identified in Lyme patients. I do not say genetic mutation. That implies something, that people think is very serious. It's a variation, and we can work with it. I spoke earlier about the controversy surrounding this variation and mentioned that one of our dietary supplements, Realign, contains 4 methylated B vitamins that can address the Mthfr problem. Number 8, Lyme doctors find they have to treat parasites in their patients. Therefore, I recommend rereading the section above on parasites, considering using diatomaceous earth. You can mix it with your psyllium and bentonite. You can take 1 teaspoon daily. So yes, you'd have to go to the book and read about the parasite section in the book. Bob's going to the beach. Bye, Bob. Okay. And diatomaceous earth is interesting. It is natural anti-parasite. And in number 9, looking at total biology. Now, this is fascinating. When I look at chronic disease, I try to find the conflict involved through a medical specialty called total biology. When I attended workshops on total biology, my teacher, Gilbert Reynaud, naturopath, reported on 6 clients with Lyme disease that consulted him. Dr. Reynaud said that the conflict behind Lyme is separation from the family. Either a person tried to get away from the family or is banished from the family, or an ancestor was banished from the family and the client reenacts that banishment. He mentioned that Irish and Scottish cultures don't like to leave their homeland. For a Scottish person, it's difficult to be away from the clan. The subconscious notion is that if you are with your clan, you survive. People in North America or Australia may express Lyme as a result of this conflict. One client was a woman from New Zealand. She was out of her pack, her clan, and had a Lyme reaction. When she's back in Ireland, she feels like she felt like she didn't belong. And in New Zealand, she was separated from her descendants. In their consultation with my teacher, the woman talked about this type of separation, and then her symptoms were exacerbated and then resolved. Sometimes people diagnosed with Lyme don't even have a tick bite, but are diagnosed with the concept. Now that's kind of deep and heavy, but it's also very interesting that there can be a conflict with these conditions. So I go on. I mean, there's a lot more words. Maybe I'll just do the next part. The recent epidemic of Lyme disease and other tick-borne diseases and co-infections is a result of the perfect storm of widespread magnesium deficiency, lack of fat in the diet, deficiency of thyroid hormones, MTHFR gene variations, environmental toxicity, GMOs, EMF radiation, and much more. Together, they make the body vulnerable to layers of infections and toxicity. The immune system tries valiantly, but it cannot cope without the proper building blocks. However, when it is given the structural support with the proper nutrients, things begin to turn around. So, I mean, basically, I think we've had, many customers who've said, yeah, I was diagnosed with Lyme or whatever. And then we never say, well, we can treat Lyme, we can do this, do that. We just say, well, take the nutrients and see how your body does. And, I even have a theory, I guess you'd say, that some of our customers may have had Lyme as part of their symptomatology, and the chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and aches and pains, and they've never really been diagnosed. They take the products and things sort of settle out and sort themselves out. But I'll go to Ginny and ask her, what's our feedback in terms of Lyme? She's coming. Don't
Sorry
worry.
about, here I am. On the Lyme's disease, we have a lot of people get breakthroughs. And I think the most difficult thing is really trying to get people to understand that they can, because so many people have been convinced that it's just a hopeless situation, and it's not. So we do have good results when people settle in, they realize they're going to be using the products in a recuperative kind of consistent, responsible way. And then they make that commitment and they do it. They have great results. But it's one of those things where by the time people come to us with Lyme's, also sometimes they've already been through a couple different protocols and they're discouraged.
Well, yeah. And they've been told it's chronic. There's no treatment right from the get-go. They're told that. They Google it but here are more words in the book. Let's look at the following list of Lyme symptoms, which are all similar to symptoms of yeast overgrowth toxins and nutrient deficiencies. So we've got fatigue, which is magnesium and B12 deficiency. So that you're getting in your Remag and your Realign. Joint pain, that's magnesium, zinc, selenium, and B12 deficiencies. Achy, stiff, or swollen joints, that's magnesium, zinc, selenium, B12 deficiency. And you're getting your zinc and your Pico zinc, and also you're getting zinc in your Remite. You're getting selenium in your Remite. Lyme symptoms include flu-like symptoms, and that can be from dehydration, magnesium, zinc, and selenium deficiencies. Headaches, magnesium and B6 deficiency. You get your B6 and Reline. Dizziness, magnesium, zinc, selenium, and B12 deficiency. Sleep disturbances, magnesium, B5, and folate deficiencies, and you get those Bs in your Realign. Fever, night sweats, cognitive decline, vision changes are more specifically related to yeast toxins, but can be made worse by nutrient deficiency. So that's why we're able to say that our treatment protocols, they can work with all these so-called Lyme symptoms and people can overcome them. And here's some more words from this customer. She talks about how coupling Lyme with a virus and alpha toxin mold, and I guess those were some of her symptoms. So mold, virus, and the spirochete Lyme. I say supporting the body will help deal with invaders. People with Lyme, this is me talking, people with Lyme are treated with antibiotics which may kill the Lyme spirochete but leave yeast overgrowth. The immune system is weakened and susceptible to viruses and bacteria. Mold is a cousin of yeast and is addressed in our yeast management protocol. If there's environmental mold, black mold, etc., I highly recommend using a small ozone generator in the home to eliminate the mold. And I have the reference to that in one of my blogs. You can Google. It's called More on Black Mold. Mm-hmm. So you put that in my name and find the ozone machine reference. The scenario followed. She's saying now. Her scenario followed immediately after hip replacement surgery, which led into an inflammatory response, which mocked rheumatoid arthritis. And I said magnesium deficiency could have been created because many anesthetics are fluoride-based, and fluoride binds with magnesium, depleting it from the body, depositing brittle magnesium fluoride flakes into joints, tendons, and cartilage. And then she talked about being in bed for hours and researching. And then she found out about our work, began hydrating using Celtic sea salt. And she asked me about the Chinese meridians, how we talked about earlier, the divergent meridians diverting internal subclinical infections from the internal organs to the joints. So then I told her to read Reset the Yeast Connection and told her the worst is over. And I yield my case.
Very good. Very good. Very good. And that is perfect timing and a perfect way to wrap up the show. The worst is over. We are here for you, as you've heard. And the children are elated, and so is Rachel. We'll be back next week with another wonderful show. Thank you for being here and all the wonderful comments. And of course, Dr. Dean will never let it go to her head, but we certainly hope you share it with your friends and family. Very important to keep each other healthy these days.
Awesome. Wonderful show. I just enjoy it.
Bye, Rachel.
Bye, Rachel.
Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show. For questions about today's broadcast, email Dr. Dean at questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com. That's questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.